Magandang umaga po sa lahat ng mga kadete nationwide from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, sa lahat po ng faculty and staff, mga review lecturers, sa lahat po ng guest instructors, part-time instructors, sa lahat ng mga registered criminologists, mga takers, mga reviewees for the upcoming criminologist licensure examination under the new TOS. Magandang umaga po and welcome po sa Bicueno. Ito po ang platform sa YouTube na nagbibigay po ng libre, comprehensive, and aligned po sa table of specification lahat ng discussions po natin. We will continue po ang review natin sa subject na criminal justice system. Okay? Sa criminal justice system po, may 5 pillars po tayo. Una yung law enforcement, pangalawa yung prosecution, pangatlo yung korte, pangapat yung correction, at yung panglima is yung tinatawag nating community. Sa part 1 po, tapos na po tayo sa law enforcement pillar. Ang subject po natin ngayon for discussion will be 2 additional pillars, yung prosecution at saka yung court pillar. Yung remaining po na to, yung correction at saka yung community, ilagay po natin sa pinaka-last po na episode. Good luck din po sa lahat po ng mga takers sa upcoming criminologist licensure examination. Before anything else mga kadete, let me promote again sa lahat po ng mga faculty, mga instructors po natin, mga ma'am and sir. Meron po tayong very comprehensive na review material po. Isa po itong libro, ang Bicueno Review Material. Ang Bicueno Review Material po is a book po. It's a book comprising sa lahat po ng review materials in all subjects, sa lahat po ng 6 major areas sa criminology. Naka-align na po ito sa latest table of specification. And I would like to inform everyone na yung nakalagay po na mga topics sa review material po natin are not just aligned with the latest table of specification, pero pati na po sinasali po natin yung mga supplemental topics. Kahit hindi po naka-reflect sa TOS, inilagay po natin as supplementary. So again, yung topics under the TOS at saka yung supplemental topics nakalagay na po dyan. Comprehensive po. And I'd like to give gratitude sa lahat po na nag-avail. So sa lahat ng mga faculty and staff, if okay po, i-require po natin. So yung mga estudyante pa natin na mga kadete from first year up to 4th year, advice ko po sa inyo, as early as first year, mag-avail na po kayo. Okay? Mag-avail na po kayo para makapag-advance reading po kayo at the same time, ma-review nyo po yung mga subjects that you already took sa first sem, second sem, or kung anong level man kayo ngayon sa eskwelahan. So again, I'd like to invite everyone, kindly check po kung ano yung Bicueno review material po natin. Also, sa mga ma'am and sir natin, mga instructors po, yung PowerPoint presentation po natin, pag medyo kapos po tayo sa oras, wala tayong PowerPoint presentation, available din po. At saka yung PDF copy po ng review material per subject. So if in case you want to grab a copy, kindly message me po. Andyan po yung pangalan ko po sa baba sa description ng video po na ito. Andyan po yung pangalan ko. You can give me a personal message para we can negotiate po kung ano po yung mode of payment po natin at the same time saan ko po i-send yung mga file. Alright? Now, without further ado, punta po tayo sa prosecution. Okay? Sa lahat po ng magti-take ng board examination, I'd like to inform everyone na bago po ang steps or bago po yung proseso ng preliminary investigation. Pag-usapan po natin yan mamaya. Okay? Tingnan muna natin kung ano ba ang nature ng second pillar ng criminal justice system, itong prosecution. Nung una, ang purpose po, main purpose ng prosecution pillar is to identify or to determine whether there is a probable cause to hold a person for trial. Okay, yun po ang purpose ng prosecution. Nung una, ano ba yung probable cause? Yung probable cause, ito po yung mga circumstansya, mga facts, evidence that will tell a person that a certain individual committed a crime and that he should be put into trial because he might be probably guilty thereof. Yun po ang definition ng probable cause natin. So ano ba yung probable cause? Ibig sabihin, ito yung mga ebidensya na magsasabi ng isang tao na kapag commit ng krimen, and probably he is guilty thereof and he should be put into trial. Guilty thereof and he should be put into trial. Pero under po sa new guidelines set by the Department of Justice, iba na po ang main goal ng prosecution. Ang main goal ngayon ng prosecution na take note sa lahat ng takers ng board examination. Ang main goal ngayon is hindi yan na yung probable cause. Ang main goal ngayon ng prosecution is yung pag-identify ng isang ebidensya. Ang tawag na ebidensya na ito is yung prima facie evidence. Ano ba itong prima facie? Yan po ang correct pronunciation ha. Ano ba itong prima facie evidence? Ito po yung ebidensya that could stand alone. Okay? Ito po ang ebidensya sufficient and can stand alone. At the same time, it is an evidence that can prove conviction or that can prove that a person is guilty. For example, pag CCTV footage, tingnan natin ha, theft yung krimen. May CCTV footage na nag-depict na ang nagkuha ng pera is si Pedro. Question, is a CCTV footage a stand-alone evidence that can prove that it was Pedro who stole the money? The answer is yes. Stand-alone po siya. It's a sufficient evidence that if uncontradicted po is enough and could sustain a judgment. Yun po ang ibig sabihin ng prima facie evidence. So balik tayo ha. Ang main goal ngayon is hindi na yung probable cause. Ay, probable cause kasi, ibig sabihin ng probable, hindi pa sigurado. Parang may guts ka or there's something in you that will tell you that this person is probably. Ibig sabihin ng probably, hindi pa klaro, hindi pa sure. That a person is guilty. Pero dito, sa prima facie evidence, dapat klaro na kasi prima facie Pag uncontradicted na evidence na yan, automatic can stand alone and can prove judgment and can tell that a person is guilty thereof. So ano ngayon ang, balik tayo ha, ano ngayon ang main goal ng prosecution? Yung pag-identify ng prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty for the respondent's conviction and that he or she should be held for trial. Pag may prima facie evidence, with reasonable certainty, meaning klarong-klaro that the respondent will become guilty, o yan po, magpa-file ngayon ang prosecution ng tinatawag nating information para i-submit doon sa korte para ang tao na yan can be held for trial. Tingnan natin ngayon ha kung ano ang ibig sabihin ng information. Okay? So yun po ha, I hope klaro. Now, ang prosecution pillar, ang task ng prosecution pillar is delivered through what we call as the NPS or the National Prosecution Services. Ano ba itong National Prosecution Services? Tingnan natin ang definition. The principal prosecutor arm of the government. It is under the Department of Justice, which is primarily responsible for the investigation and prosecution of all cases involving violations of penal law. So lahat po ng kaso po will be prosecuted. Ang mag-prosecute po dyan para ma-determine kung may prima facie evidence ba is yung tinatawag nating NPS or National Prosecution Services. So, ang NPS po, ang tinatawag again na prosecutor arm of the government na under po siya sa Department of Justice. Okay? Sunod. Salient functions po ng prosecution. Act as a counsel for the people of the Philippines. Anong ibig sabihin ng people of the Philippines? Ibig sabihin, ang krimen po is not just a violation or an infraction to the rights of a specific individual, but it is also considered as a circumstance or a violation to the peace or tranquility of the general public. Kaya people of the Philippines ang nakalagay. Sino ang magka-counsel ngayon? Sino yung lawyer ng people of the Philippines? Ibig sabihin, lawyer ng complainant. Itong tinatawag natin prosecution. Act as a counsel for the people of the Philippines in any case involving or arising from a criminal complaint investigated by any of its prosecutors and pending before any trial court. Pangalawa, mag-conduct siya ng preliminary investigation. Ano ba yung preliminary investigation? Ito po yung proseso, step-by-step process po sa pag-determine kung may prima facie evidence ba to prove that this person committed a crime and that he should be put into trial. So ano ang proseso? Ang tawag dyan, preliminary investigation. Ano ang purpose ng preliminary investigation? Pag-determine kung may prima facie evidence ba. Para ang isang tao, ma-convicted siya with certainty at saka ilagay siya doon sa korte para i-held into trial. Kuha po? So, conducts preliminary investigation. Ano yung proseso again? Preliminary investigation. Ano yung purpose ng preliminary investigation? Pag-determine ng prima facie evidence. Okay? Sino ang mag-conduct ng preliminary investigation? Di yung prosecution. Next, to represent the government during the prosecution of the case against the accused. Kasi nga, yung prosecution is the prosecutor arm of the government. Kaya siya yung mag-represent. Okay? Now, as to the different laws, we have the following. Yung pag-create po ng National Prosecution Service, it was created by the virtue of PD number 1275. Kindly take note po ha. Kahit hindi ito nakalagay doon sa TOS, kindly take note na lang po. 1275. Then we have Republic Act number 10071, otherwise known as the Prosecution Service Act of 2010, which was passed by Congress. At the same time, yung bago po natin ngayon, 2024 po ha, Department Circular number 15, series of 2024 rather, na naglagay po doon ang Department of Justice National Prosecution Service Rules on Preliminary Investigation and Inquest Proceedings. So doon po nakalagay yung bagong proseso po natin, bagong steps po sa pag-conduct ng preliminary investigation. Now, ano bang ibig sabihin ng preliminary investigation? Sabi ko kanina, ito yung proseso sa pag-determine ng prima facie evidence. Okay? Yan po ang preliminary investigation. Sa definition po natin, basahin po natin, is a summary proceeding to determine whether a person should be indicted in court after ascertaining based on the evidence provided and after case build-up has been conducted that there is prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty for the respondent's conviction and that he or she should be held for trial. So again po, ganito ha. Ano ang purpose, main goal ng prosecution? Pag-determine ng prima facie evidence. Paano po ang pag-determine ng prima facie evidence? Gagawin po ang preliminary investigation para ma-determine ang ebidensya na yan. Ang pag-determine po ng prima facie, which is done through preliminary investigation, will result to the filing of resolution or information. So pag may prima facie, ano ang i-file? Yung tinatawag nating information. Ano ba itong information? Ang information, ito yung written accusation furnished by the prosecutor. Ibig sabihin, ito yung written na akusasyon. Sino ang gumawa nito? Itong prosecutor. Saan ba i-submit yung information? I-submit yan doon sa korte. Pag na-receive na yan sa korte, edi yung korte mag-conduct na siya na tinatawag nating trial. Okay? Sino ba yung subject for trial? Edi yung accused. Okay? Yung accused, yung respondent in the prosecution, under the prosecution stage. So yung respondent, pagdating niya doon sa korte, maging accused siya, ang tawag sa kanya. So ibig sabihin, pag nandun na yung information, may prima facie. So pag may prima facie evidence, edi held siya for trial. Yan po ang preliminary investigation ha. Again, obsolete na po yung old definition ng PI mga kadete ha. Yung old definition natin is yung proseso sa pagdetermine ng probable cause. Hindi na po probable cause, prima facie po. Now, under po sa new guidelines, may bago pong innovation na inintroduce yung Department of Justice. Yung tinatawag nating virtual preliminary investigation. Ano ba itong virtual? From the word virtual, ibig sabihin online. Okay, hindi siya face-to-face. Online ito. It is the conduct of preliminary investigation through video conferencing. Depende yan kung anong platform. Pwedeng Zoom, pwedeng Meet, kung anong kahit anong platform using the appropriate information and communication technology. O, tawag po dyan, virtual preliminary investigation. Now, tanong, when a preliminary investigation should be conducted? And then, kailan po magiging exempted or not required yung pagkandak ng PI? Okay, nilagay ko dito, klarong-klaro. The conduct of preliminary investigation proceeding shall be required for crimes or offenses where the penalty prescribed by law is at least 6 years and 1 day without regard to fine. Klaro yan ha? 6 years. At least 6 years and 1 day. Wala na yung 4 years and 2 months. Yung sa yung sa old natin, 4 years and 2 months and 1 day. Doon po nakalagay ha sa yung unang guideline, pero sa bago po, again, sa lahat po ng takers ng criminologist licensure examination, makinig po ng maigi. Bago po actually, I have to tell you, napaka-unfortunate nyo yung mag-take ng board examination this 2024. Kasi una, naging parang kayo sinasampulan kayo ng bagong table of specification. Tapos ang inilagay na time ng PRC para mag-recalibrate kayo is very slim. Very unfair po yan. I tell you, walang enough time given to you to recalibrate. Naiba kasi yung that's my opinion, okay? Yun po ang opinion ko. Pero as much as possible, dapat po kasi yung PRC should give you a maximum time. Dapat kasi bigyan ng 1 year para again, maka-recalibrate yung preparation. Pero sa inyo, naging sinasampulan talaga kayo. At the same time, marami pong updates. And who knows, these updates could be very important po sa CLE. And I tell you, sa subject po na ito, na criminal justice system, ang preliminary investigation is one of the main contents po under the table of specification. So, dapat po, heads up po tayo. And kindly tell everyone, pakishare na lang po ng video para at least matulungan po natin yung uninformed or misinformed individuals. So, again ngayon ano ba yung subject? Kailan po maging required ang isang PI? Maging required siya pag ang isang krimen, punishment niya is at least 6 years and 1 day. Okay? 6 years and 1 day ang nakalagay dyan without regard to fine. Ibig sabihin ng without regard to fine. So, hindi kasali ang fine. Hindi kasali. Yung fine, yung babayaran natin. Kahit magkano yung babayaran mo, so long as yung punishment na nakalagay dyan is 6 years and 1 day, or 6 years and 2 days, or 7 years, or 8 years, yung minimum dyan is 6 years and 1 day, automatic pasok ka ngayon sa tinatawag natin preliminary investigation. Okay? Now, tingnan natin ngayon ang salient provisions. Salient provisions ng Department of Justice, National Prosecution Service, Rules on Preliminary Investigation and Inquisition. Ito yung bago So, basahin po natin. The investigating prosecutor may motu proprio. Ibig sabihin ng motu proprio in that instant or immediately. Okay? Immediately. Ibig sabihin, motu proprio. Motu proprio, immediately, at any stage of the proceeding, dismiss the complaint if there is no prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction. Pag probable lang yan, hindi pwede. Dapat klaro. Again, pag-receive ng complaint, pagtingin ng investigating prosecutor, kukunti lang yung kukunti lang yung ebidensya. May ebidensya nga, pero hindi siya prima facie kasi it's not enough to convict somebody. Anong gagawin ng prosecutor ngayon? Ang gagawin niya ngayon is to dismiss. Sir, napaka-unfair naman yan. Napaka-unfair, may ebidensya ako, sir, but cannot be considered as a prima facie evidence. But dismiss? Kasi po, pag titingnan natin ngayon, yung current setup po natin sa criminal justice system, Ang overwhelming po ng workload kasi na doon po na iambak lahat sa korte. Kuha nyo po? Pag titinan nyo ngayon, tingnan natin yung sit-up natin sa korte sa Pilipinas. How many years yung mga kaso natin will take for it to be given a conviction or judgment? Diba ang tagal? Napakatagal po. Ng conviction. Take a look at Maguindanao Massacre. Take a look at so many sensational cases in the Philippines. It took 5 years, at least 5. Napaka-minimum na yan. Yung iba, 10 years. Yung iba, 15 years. Yung iba nga, yung mga detainees natin who were suspected to be violators of Republic Act 9165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act. Andun pa nga yun, nagiging 6 years na, 7 years na, wala pa nga conviction, waiting for judgment pa. Diba? So, basically, ang purpose kasi nito, dapat may ebidensya, standalone evidence that could prove conviction para at least pagdating doon sa korte, hindi na po kailangang mag-ambak pa ng maraming trabaho and it could speed things up in the court. Ibig sabihin, yung mga docketed cases po sa korte will be minimized. Kasi nung una, probable kasi, pag may ebidensya ka, and it could probably, that evidence could probably put the person into conviction. Automatic na yan eh. Pwede na. Trial na. Pero ngayon, hindi. Prima facie pong ebidensya yung ang tinutukoy natin. Ano ba yung prima facie evidence? Ito po yung ebidensya na pagtingin mo at your first sight, enough na yan, sufficient na, it could stand alone, and it could prove that this person committed a crime. It is an evidence, kahit isang ebidensya lang yan, automatic that will tell the court na ito po yung nag-commit ng krimen. Sabi ko nga kanina CCTV footage, kinuha ni Pedro yung 1 million. Kailanganin mo pa ba yung mga affidavit ng witnesses? Hindi na. Kailanganin mo pa ba yung mga kahit ano-anong Poncio Pilato na testimony? Hindi na. Kasi yung CCTV alone is enough to prove that the person committed a crime. Okay? At the same time, pag wala kang isang stand-alone na evidence, pero may mga corroborative evidence naman that could support the other types of evidence, then basically, as long as ma-prove yung conviction ng isang tao, it can be considered as a prima facie evidence. Okay? So again, yan po ang purpose ng prosecution using the proceeding preliminary investigation. So again, pag walang prima facie, anong gagawin? Dismiss yung kaso. The dismissal is with prior approval of the head of the prosecution office. Dapat may approval yan ng provincial prosecutor or sino ba yung head of the prosecution office? Nilagay ko na nga dyan Prosecutor General, Regional Prosecutor, Provincial Prosecutor, o pwede yung City Prosecutor. Dapat may approval yan. Next, quantum of evidence. Ano ibig sabihin ng quantum? Yung quantity. Yung ang dami ng ebidensya na binigay mo. The quantum of evidence for preliminary investigation and inquest proceedings is prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction. Okay? Ano ibig sabihin nito? Ang dami po ng ebidensya, pwede po siyang makapag-produce ng prima facie evidence. Okay? Ibig sabihin, sa context po na ito, ang prima facie evidence could be understood as number 1, stand-alone. Isang ebidensya na stand-alone. Pag hindi siya isang ebidensya na stand-alone, pwedeng maraming ebidensya, marami ang ebidensya, and this quantity of evidence will support the conviction of the individual. Quantum of evidence. Tingnan natin, ano ba itong quantum? Kailan ito mag-exist? Mag-exist siya pag una, testimonial evidence. Ano ba yung testimonial? Ibig sabihin, testimony. Okay, may witness ka. Pangalawa, may dokumento ka, documentary evidence. Pangatlo, real evidence. Or pang-apat, such evidence on its own and if left uncontroverted, shall be sufficient to establish all the elements of the crime or offense charged and consequently warrant a conviction beyond reasonable doubt. Ibig sabihin, yung other evidence that could prove conviction of the individual, of the suspect or the accused. So, ibig sabihin, pag may ganito kang mga ebidensya, na-reach mo yung tinatawag natin yung quantum. On the other hand, mga kadete, ang quantum of evidence, ma-meet po siya pag isang prosecutor kumbinsido po
Kumbinsido saan? Sa pangkalahatang ebidensya. The entirety of evidence. So, pag ang entirety of evidence, na-meet yung tatlong criteria. Una, dapat ang entirety ng evidence should be admissible. Ano ba yung admissible? Dapat sa korte ma-accept yan. Pangalawa, dapat credible yan o credible. Pangatlo, dapat ang ebidensya, yung entirety ng evidence is capable of being preserved and presented. So, yun po ang criteria natin. Criteria number 1, dapat admissible siya. Number 2, credible. Criteria number 3, dapat capable of being preserved and presented. Doon po sa korte yung pag-present po natin. Now, so again, maging kumbinsido yung prosecutor na yung pangkalahatan na ng ebidensya is admissible, credible, and is capable of being preserved and presented. Now, the affidavits following to be filed or submitted during the preliminary investigation are the following, okay? Ito, under ito sa legal forms. So, ito po yung isubmit during PI. Una, complaint affidavit or simply complaint. Okay, ano ba itong complaint or complaint affidavit? Isa lang po yan. Isa po siyang written accusation furnished by the complainant. Anong ibig sabihin ng furnished by the complainant? Ito po ang isang akusasyon. Isinulat na akusasyon. Sino ang nagsulat? Itong complainant. Okay? So, ano ang nakalagay doon sa complaint? Akusasyon. Ano yung akusasyon? Accusing a person or charging a person with a crime or offense. O yun po, complaint affidavit. Anong purpose ng complaint affidavit? Pag-akusar. Pagbigay ng accusation. In what form? Through writing. Sino yung nag-accuse? Iyong complainant. Ano ang ina-accuse ng complainant? Iyong pag-commit ng krimen ng isang tao. Okay? So, complainant, yung tao na nag-complain. Yung written accusation, tinatawag complaint. Anong purpose ng complaint? Pag-accuse. Ano yung ina-akusar? Accusing a person of a certain crime or a certain offense. Okay. Pag yung written accusation is furnished by the prosecutor, anong tawag dyan? Information. Ang complaint is a written accusation furnished by the complainant. Ang information is a written accusation furnished by the prosecutor. Pareho lang, pero ang pagkakaiba lang kung sino yung gumawa, sino yung nag-furnish. Okay? Pangalawa, counter affidavit. Ano ba itong counter affidavit? A written statement of the respondent indicating his or her defenses and subscribed and sworn to before a prosecutor or any government official, blah, 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 blah. Ibig sabihin, pag-submit ngayon ng complainant sa kanyang complaint affidavit doon sa prosecution, isupina ngayon ang respondent. Ang supina po, magsasabi doon, hoy, Mr. Respondent, may accusation laban sa iyo. Ano ang depensa mo? So, ang gagawin ng respondent, gagawa siya ngayon ng kanyang depensa through the counter affidavit. So, pag sa complaint, nakalagay doon, si Pedro, ikaw yung nagnakaw sa 5 million pesos ko. Dapat sa counter affidavit, i-counter mo yan, yung claim. I-counter mo yung accusation. Dapat sabihin ni Pedro ngayon na, hindi pa ako ang nagnakaw sa 5 million pesos. Mayroon akong ebidensya that during the time that the crime was committed, I was in Siquijor. Ito po yung mga picture ko. I was in this area when the crime was committed. O yun, mga ganyan. Ang tawag po niyan, counter affidavit. Sino mag-file ng counter affidavit? Yung respondent. Okay, balik tayo ha. Ano ang isubmit ngayon ng complainant? Magsubmit siya ngayon ng complaint affidavit. Anong purpose ng complaint affidavit? Ito po yung written accusation that is furnished by the complainant accusing a person of a certain crime or charging a person of a certain crime. Pag-submit niya ngayon doon sa prosecution, sabihin na ngayon ng prosecution, oy, supinan natin yung respondent. Supinahan yung respondent para ang respondent gagawa siya ngayon na tinatawag natin counter affidavit. Ano ba itong counter affidavit? From the word counter, ibig sabihin, ito yung pag-counteract, pagdepensa ng respondent sa kanyang sarili laban po sa akusasyon na ibinigay sa kanya ng complainant. Okay? Sunod, pang-tatlo, reply affidavit. A written statement by the complainant which answers new allegation in the counter affidavit. So, ibig sabihin, mag-submit ngayon, balik tayo ha, mag-submit ng complaint affidavit. Pag-submit ng complaint affidavit, sabihin ngayon ni complainant, hoy Pedro, ninakaw mo yung 5 million pesos ko. Mag-supina yung prosecution para mag-submit ng counter affidavit yung respondent. Sabihin ngayon ng counter affidavit, hoy, Mr. Complainant, hindi pa ako nagnakaw dyan. I was in Siquijor when the crime was committed. Ito yung mga ebidensya ko. And ito yung mga pictures that I was in Siquijor. Mag-reply ngayon yung complainant. Ang tawag sa kanyang reply is reply affidavit. Sabihin niya ngayon, hoy, wag ka nang magmaang-maangan. Ay may CCTV footage na nakita ka na you are the one opening the drawer, taking off the 5 million cash. So, yun po, reply affidavit yan. Now, bigyan ng isang pagkakataon, another chance for the respondent to reply. Ang tawag po dyan is rejoinder affidavit. A written statement of the respondent in response to the reply affidavit. Sasabihin niya ngayon, hoy, sa CCTV footage na hindi ako yan eh. That was my twin brother. Oh, di ba? So, magkamukha lang kami, but I was in Siquijor during this time. Oh, di ba? So, it's basically it's like a communication. It's just like a communication. Ako yung mag-una, magbigay na accusation sa'yo, ikaw na respondent, you have to reply. Pag reply mo, mag-reply ako. Mag-response ako based on your reply. Ang tawag doon is reply affidavit. Pag reply ko, you will be given another chance to give a response also. Ang tawag dyan is rejoinder affidavit. Kuha niyo po? So, I hope klaro ha, ang discussion po natin. Now, okay lang pag matagal yung discussion natin. No worries pag aabot tayo ng 1 hour. I tell you, matagal din po ang pag-edit, paggawa ng video. Pero okay lang. Okay lang mga kaditi, para po sa inyo ang lahat ng ginagawa ko po. Para matulungan ko po kayo. Walang bayad ha. Walang bayad. Yung iba, it requires money. Marami nga nag-inquire, sir, paano po ba yung pag-access namin sa lahat ng full videos mo? Magkano po yung bayad? Magbabayad ako? No. The purpose of this channel, this will serve as my legacy. Pag mamatay ako, at least you can remember me. When the time comes, right? When the time comes that you will become police officers, jail officers, fire officers, coast guard, or whatever profession that you will be choosing in life, at least in one way or to the other, you will remember me as one of the persons who help you through the board examination. Walang bayad yan. Walang bayad po. Alright? Tingnan natin yung step-by-step process, yung procedures for regular preliminary investigation. Dalawa po ang klase natin ha. Regular preliminary investigation, ibig sabihin dyan, face-to-face. Yung pangalawa, na sinasabi ko kanina, virtual preliminary investigation. Ang ibig sabihin ng virtual preliminary, ibig sabihin video conferencing. Okay? Dito muna tayo sa regular. Unang step, filing of the original complaint affidavit with 2 duplicate copies for official file. Ilan lahat? 2 duplicate copies ha. Anong purpose dyan? For official file. So, ibig sabihin, isang original, 2 duplicate. Ilan lahat? 3. Okay? 3 yan. May additional pa. And such number of copies as there are respondents with the prosecution office. Ano ibig sabihin? Pag isa lang yung respondent, ibig sabihin, ang i-produce mo 3 lang. Isang original, 2 duplicates. Pero pag 2 yung respondents, maging 4 na yan. So, ibig sabihin, isang original, magiging 3 yung duplicates. Right? Naging 3 na, naging 4. Pero pag isa lang yung respondent, no worries, 3 lang. Isang original, 2 duplicate. Saan siya isubmit? Doon sa prosecution office. Each complaint affidavit shall be accompanied by a duly accomplished NPS or the National Prosecution Service Investigation Data Form. Dapat may IDE yan ha, na form, na naka-accompany po sa complaint affidavit po natin. Sa complaint affidavit po, doon po nakalagay yung names and address of the parties, date and place where the alleged crime or offense or violation of the ordinance was committed, and a statement of the facts of how the crime was committed. Ano ibig sabihin ng statement of the facts? Ano ang nangyari? Ano yung una? Ano yung pangalawa? Pangatlo? Ano yung panglas na nangyari po? Next, it shall be accompanied by the affidavits of his or her witnesses as well as other supporting evidence to establish a prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction. Dapat lahat ng ebidensya. So, pag ang ebidensya mo ngayon is only probably a Latin print from the crime scene, kulang. Especially pag ang Latin print is not enough, or especially if the Latin print is something that could be questionable, or a Latin print whose identity of the owner cannot be established. Like to repeat hindi lahat po ng Latin print could establish identity. Hindi lahat. Okay? Especially pag kulang-kulang yung mga characteristics dyan. So, ibig sabihin, pag Latin print lang ang nakuha mo, so it could not be a prima facie evidence, right? Pero, may additional ka eh. May affidavit ka sa testimony ng isang witness. Tapos, may another physical evidence ka na andon. Or probably, may documentary evidence ka. So, pag pinagtampi-tampi mo lahat ng ebidensya na nakolekt mo, and it could certainly put the person into conviction, then ibig sabihin, may prima facie evidence ka na. Okay? Sa akin, sabi ko kanina ang prima facie evidence, pwedeng isa, pwedeng marami. Isa, ibig sabihin, stand-alone siya. CCTV footage, for example. Pwedeng 2, 3, 4, 5, pinagtagpo-tagpo mo yan, ang lahat ng ebidensya, and it could certainly convict a person of the crime that he committed. So, may prima facie evidence ka ngayon. Okay? Next. Ay, by the way, mga kadete, lahat ng affidavits po natin, lahat po ng complaint affidavit, dapat po yan notarize, nakanotaryo lahat yan. Okay? Pag subscribe and sworn before a notary public, ibig sabihin, nakanotarize. Number 2, upon receipt of a complaint affidavit and before the same is docketed, the head of the prosecution office shall ensure sufficiency, inform the complaint affidavit, and the completeness of evidence. Dapat kumpleto lahat, yung ebidensya, at the same time, yung number of copies. For this purpose, he or she shall require the complainant to submit any lacking piece of evidence pag kulang. Once the head of the prosecution office determines that the complaint affidavit is sufficient and firm and evidence is complete, the same shall be docketed. Kailan po i-docketed? Kailan po maging docketed yan? Ibig sabihin, no, na naka-assign yung may number na, may schedule na, may kaso na nakalagay dyan, anong type of crime being committed. Pag docketed na po yan, kailan po mangyari ang pag-docket? Mangyari po ang docket na yan upon examination na ang ebidensya kompleto, at the same time, yung complaint affidavit is sufficient in form. So, docketed na po siya. Balik tayo ng konti mga kadete, para talagang ma-digest po natin. Ano ba yung unang procedure? Pag-submit po ng complaint affidavit along with the affidavits of the witnesses plus along with the evidence. Okay? Saan i-submit? Doon sa prosecution. Yun po ang una na step po natin. Pangalawang step, pagdating doon sa prosecution, titingnan ngayon kung sufficient informed ba yung complaint affidavit. Kailan maging sufficient informed yung complaint affidavit? Pag doon nakalagay yung names, address, doon nakalagay yung date and place kung saan nangyari yung krimen. Doon din po nakalagay how the crime is committed sa complaint affidavit. So, pag wala yan doon sa complaint affidavit na na-receive ng prosecution, ibig sabihin, hindi complete, hindi sufficient inform yung complaint affidavit mo. So, ibalik sa'yo yan. Pero pag kompleto naman, sufficient naman, nakalagay doon yung name, address, date, blah, 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 how the crime is committed, then, basically, sufficient inform na yung complaint affidavit. Pangalawa, tingnan ngayon ng prosecution ang completeness of evidence. Kompleto ba yung ebidensya na na-submit mo? Pag hindi kompleto, hindi balik sa'yo, kumpletohin mo yan. Okay, yun po So, sino ba ang mag-determine kung sufficient informed na ba yung complete affidavit? Kung kumpleto na ba yung ebidensya? Ang mag-determine dyan is yung head of the prosecution office. Klaro? Sino ang mag-determine? Head of the prosecution office. Now, lagay na lang natin, kompleto ang ebidensya. Sufficient informed yung complaint affidavit. Ano ang mangyayari sunod? Third step. E di lahat ng records, yung complaint, yung ebidensya, yung affidavits of witnesses, lahat-lahat ng records, i-transfer yan, i-forward doon sa tinatawag nating investigating prosecutor. O siya na yung mag-i-investigate pag may prima facie evidence ba talaga. So, i-assign niya ngayon. Pagdating sa kanya ng records, bibigyan siya ng how many days? 5 araw. 5 araw to determine, number 1, i-dismiss ba? Pag kulang yung evidence, walang ground to continue with the investigation, dismiss. Pag walang prima facie, i-dismiss mo yan. Or number 2, mag-issue ka ng subpoena kasi may ebidensya eh. Klaro yung ebidensya eh. So pag klaro yung ebidensya, no, i-issue mo, subpoena. Ang subpoena, that number 1, that will mandate the complainant and the respondent to appear before the office of the investigating prosecutor for what we call as preliminary investigation hearing. Ibig sabihin, supinahan ngayon yung complainant, supinahan niya ngayon yung respondent, hoy, kayong dalawa, pupunta kayo sa opisina ko para sa preliminary investigation hearing. So doon po sila mag-usap-usap doon sa preliminary investigation hearing. Yung preliminary investigation hearing naman, may reglementary period siya. It shall not exceed 30 days from the investigating prosecutor's receipt of the entire records. So, ibig sabihin, pag na-receive mo yung entirety of the records, 5 araw ang ibigay sa'yo to either dismiss or to issue a subpoena. 5 araw. Pag mag-issue ka ng subpoena ngayon, dapat nakalagay sa subpoena ang pag-conduct ng preliminary investigation hearing which should happen within 30 days from the moment you receive the entirety of the records. So, ibig sabihin, let us say, na-receive mo yung record alagay na lang natin, June 31. So, bigyan ka ngayon, dapat August 1, papunta, lagay lang natin, July 31 rather. July 31, na-receive mo yung record. Bibigyan ka ngayon ng August 1 to August 30 para makapag-conduct ka ng preliminary investigation hearing. Pag may ebidensya na klaro. Pero, pagtingin mo, pag-receive mo na record, hindi talaga yung ebidensya, there's no ground for you to continue with the investigation, dismiss mo. Mag-issue ka pa ba ng subpoena? Hindi na. Dismiss mo na nga eh. Pero, recommend for dismissal pareho lang din yun, dismiss. Pero, pag klaro yung ebidensya, may ground, o di mag-issue ka ng subpoena para magkanda ka ngayon ng preliminary investigation hearing within 30 days from the moment you receive the entire records. Pangalawa, subpoena. Sa pangalawang subpoena, i-issue mo yan doon sa respondent lang. Okay? Issuehan mo ng subpoena yung respondent to mandate the respondent to submit his counter affidavit. Okay? So, sa subpoena na yan, naka-attach doon po lahat ng ebidensya, lahat ng affidavits of the witnesses, pati na yung complaint affidavit ng complainant. So, isubmit niya ngayon, isupinahan niya ngayon si Pedro. Hey, Pedro, andito yung complaint affidavit, andito yung affidavit of the witnesses, andito yung lahat ng ebidensya, Pedro. You have been accused of the crime of theft. O ano yung response mo? Dapat mag-response ka within 10 days from the moment the subpoena was received or is received by the respondent. Pag na-receive mo ngayon, July 1, o di, bibigyan ka ngayon up to July 11 para mag-submit ka ngayon ng counter affidavit. So, pag hindi ako mag-submit ng counter affidavit, gusto ko, hindi ako mag-submit. Of course, the resolution will be in favor on the complainant. Pag hindi ka mag-submit, kasi nga, you waive your right to submit the necessary document. So, dapat makapag-submit ka para at least may fair trial po tayo. Okay? Kuha po ba, mga kadets? Note, During the preliminary investigation hearing, the respondent shall file his or her counter affidavit. Doon siya mag-file ngayon ng kanyang counter affidavit. Number 2, shall file the original copy of his or her counter affidavit. And 2, duplicate copies for official file with the prosecution office and furnish a copy to the complainant or each complainant. So pag maraming complainants, dalawa, magbigay ka ng copies, isa-isa sa kanila. Okay? So, kailan mo po i-file yung counter affidavit mo during preliminary investigation hearing. Pero again take note the moment you receive the subpoena or the moment you receive the complaint affidavit coming from the complainant, dapat within 10 days, para safe within 10 days. From the moment you receive it, dapat i-submit mo na yung counter affidavit mo. 10 araw lang. Ang nakasaad dito under the notes na mag-file ka. Pero let us say for example, pag July 31 na-receive mo yung subpoena along with the complaint affidavit, ikaw yung respondent, so bibigyan ka ngayon ng August 1 up to August 10. Okay? 10 araw. Now, yung preliminary investigation hearing, within 30 days yan. So, pag hindi naaayon sa 30 days, dapat unahin mo yung 10 days. Okay? 10 days po So, yun po. Within 30 days, during the preliminary investigation, pag nakandak na yan, preliminary investigation hearing, doon ka na makapag-file ng counter affidavit. Pero, mag-submit ka ngayon ng counter affidavit within 10 days again from the moment you receive the subpoena. Alright? Next, a motion to dismiss in lieu of the counter affidavit shall not be allowed. Ano ibig sabihin ng motion to dismiss? Ibig sabihin, you want to petition to the prosecution na i-dismiss yung counter affidavit. Di siya pwede. It's not allowed. Kasi po, it will violate the rights of the person to afford just an impartial trial. If the respondent does not appear, the investigating prosecutor shall require proof from the complainant that the respondent's address in the complaint affidavit or in the National Prosecution Service, IDF. Ano ba itong IDF? Ito po yung investigation data form. Okay? Investigation data form the in-piece IDF is the respondent's last known address. Okay? So, i-inquire ngayon. Tapos, tingnan yung ebidensya, yung talagang proof na talagang ito ang address ng respondent. If despite receipt of a subpoena at his or her last known address, the respondent fails to appear or file his or her counter affidavit without any justifiable reason, the investigating prosecutor may consider the case submitted for resolution. So again, yung paggawa ng resolution will be in favor of the complainant kasi nga hindi nakapag-submit yung respondent. Okay? So yun po. Next, pang-apat na step, the investigating prosecutor, after receiving the counter affidavit and after ensuring that the complainant has been furnished a copy thereof, may either consider the case submitted for resolution. Ibig sabihin, tingnan niya ngayon ang titimbangin niya ngayon yung ebidensya submitted by the complainant at saka yung ebidensya submitted by the respondent. Tapos pwede siya makapag-decide para at least magbigay na siya ng resolution. Okay? Or, when there are facts and issues to be clarified from a party or a witness, set the case for a physical or virtual clarificatory hearing within 10 calendar days from the said receipt. Pwede din po. Pag may mga gray areas na hindi klaro, tapos nako-confuse yung investigating prosecutor, pwede siya mag-set ng clarificatory hearing within 10 days. Pwedeng physical, pwede din po virtual. Attendance of both complainant and the respondent shall be mandatory. Ibig sabihin, it's a requirement. During the clarificatory hearing, the investigating prosecutor may perform any or of the following. Number 1, ask clarificatory questions. 2. Have the case submitted for resolution. Or number 3, require the filing of a reply affidavit or a rejoinder affidavit. Okay? Sabi mo, sir, mandatory yung attendance during clarificatory hearing. Question. Pag ako isang police officer, sir, ako yung complainant, for example, violation of Republic Act 9165. Tapos, nagbigay ngayon ng subpoena yung prosecution para sa clarificatory hearing. Tapos hindi ako pumunta doon. I choose not to attend. Question, ano po ba ang mangyayari sa akin? May contempt po ba? Ang sagot, wala. Wala pong contempt, mga kadete. Pero, ito yung big downfall dito, Pag hindi ka ngayon nag-attend, kasi mandatory yan, patay tayo ngayon sa Article 151. Ano itong Article 151 ng Revised Penal Code? Ito yung tinatawag nating resistance and disobedience to a person in authority. Kasi person in authority sila eh. So, resistance and disobedience to a person in authority, pwede makapag-initiate po yung prosecutor in the filing of a criminal complaint. So, sino yung magkaso sa'yo? Yung prosecution mismo. Kasuhan ka ngayon, violation of Article 151. Number 2, pwedeng administrative case kasi may tinatawag tayong neglect of duty eh. Non-feasance eh. May tawag din po tayong malfeasance sa misfeasance. Pwede po may administrative case. Or, number 3, violation of PD 1829. Ano ba ito? PD 1829. Diyan po nakalagay yung obstruction of justice. So, pag hindi ka nag-attend. So, what if I'm not a police officer, sir? I'm just a mere complainant. Kahit na complainant ka man o respondent ka, dapat pag mandatory yan, you have to attend kasi po, you might be liable. Okay? On violations of certain laws. Next. Sunod na step, after po ma-receive yung counter affidavit, tapos nakapag-conduct ng clarificatory hearing, pag na-confuse, pero pag hindi naman walang confusion, pwede lang walang clarificatory hearing. Pagkatapos niyan, at any time during the preliminary investigation but before the case is submitted for resolution, the prosecutor may issue subpoena justicum or ad testificandum. Ano ba ang dalawang ito? Subpoena justicum at saka subpoena ad testificandum. Pag justicum, ibig sabihin, that will require a certain body, a certain entity or individual to produce a document. Okay? Mag-produce siya ngayon ng document. Kahit anong document yan, birth certificate ba? Death certificate ba? Or kung anong record dyan. So, justicum. Pag subpoena ad testificandum, ibig sabihin dyan, a certain individual is required to testify. So, pag nasupinahan ka ngayon, wala kang choice. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, Your Honor, I would like to object. Hindi po kasi ad testificandum, you will be mandated to testify on a certain issue. Okay? For example, pag expert witness ka, yun po. Or a public doctor, a public physician, you will testify on a certain matter, then requirement po siya. It is mandatory. No motion to reopen preliminary investigation shall be entertained unless justified by the circumstances, such as when there are newly discovered pieces of evidence and that have substantial value of the investigation or to the investigation. Di po pwedeng ma-reopen ang preliminary investigation generally pag na-close na yan. Pero pwede in certain exceptional circumstances pag may mga ebidensya pong bago na na-discover na pwede makapag-change sa flow ng result ng investigation. Next, the preliminary investigation may also be reopened through a motion when the complainant or respondent failed to participate in the proceedings due to non-receipt or related receipt of the subpoena. Ibig sabihin, hindi nila na-receive yung subpoena. Hindi sila naka-receive, so hindi nila alam. Of course, pag hindi nila alam, they cannot participate. So in that case, hindi sila nakapag-participate on a justifiable reason, then the preliminary investigation can be reopened. Okay? So yun po ang lahat ng steps natin, procedures po natin sa regular preliminary investigation. So again pag na-identify po yung prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction, again, yung investigating fiscal po, investigating prosecutor, mag-file siya ngayon ng resolution sa last stage po ha, sa pinaka-last na po na stage, mag-file siya ngayon ng resolution. Ang resolution po, yun po ang ruling or disposition ng prosecutor na magsasabi doon na talagang ang tao na ito should be held for trial. Ang respondent na ito should be held for trial. Yun po ang ruling or disposition ng investigating prosecutor. Ang tawag po dyan, resolution. Hindi po resolution ang isubmit sa korte. Ang resolution po, ang purpose po dyan is just to tell the head prosecution office na talagang based on my investigation talagang may krimen na nangyari and that the crime should be held for trial in the court. Yun po, yun ang resolution. So pag affirmative na may prima facie evidence based on the resolution submitted by the investigating prosecutor, then gagawa ngayon ng tinatawag nating information. Ang information is the written accusation furnished by the prosecutor. Yan po ang isubmit doon sa korte para ang korte will decide for the trial. Okay, so yun na po ha. So tapos na po tayo again mga kadete ha sa regular preliminary investigation. Punta tayo sa hindi regular, itong tinatawag nating virtual. Okay, ano ba itong virtual? Ibig sabihin video conferencing. Okay? Unang step po dito na nakalagay, the procedures under Section 10 to E shall apply. Ang sa Section 10, A to E, ito po yung from the filing of the complaint affidavit to the filing of the counter affidavit. Okay? Filing of the complaint to the filing of the counter affidavit. So, yun po, yung proseso sa regular preliminary investigation from letter A to E. Letter A meaning pag-file at saka doon po sa step ng pag-filing ng counter affidavit, ma-apply po siya doon sa virtual preliminary investigation. If the investigating prosecutor finds that the conduct of the virtual preliminary investigation will be beneficial to the fair, speedy, and efficient administration of justice, and the conditions set forth in Section 7 are present, the investigating prosecutor may set the continuation of the proceeding through video conferencing. Next, before the initial regular face-to-face preliminary investigation hearing is terminated, the investigating prosecutor shall issue an order stating that the parties opted to continue the proceedings through video conferencing. Such order shall likewise contain the following: una, yung email address, tsaka yung contact details ng prosecution office, yung sa parties, yung sa prosecutor, yung sa witnesses, pati na yung counsels or lawyers. Pangalawa, date and time pag may clarificatory hearing or the e-filing and e-service of the pleadings. Pangatlo, date and time of the submission of the hard copies of the documents to the prosecution office which shall not be more than 3 calendar days prior to the video conferencing hearing. So, or video conference hearing. So, dapat take note, 3 calendar days po prior to the video conference. Okay? The date and time of the video conference hearing, the access details, pag Zoom ba yan, pag Google Meet ba, kung anong platform, then, such other matters as may be necessary to define the parameters of the video conference hearing. Okay? Note, the parties shall sign the order as proof of their conformity thereto. Dapat nakapag-sign sila. The investigating prosecutor shall ensure that the schedule for the clarificatory hearing or the e-filings, the case may be, complies with the period prescribed under Section 10, F and H. Sa Section 10 po, F to H, doon po, clarificatory meeting 10 days after receipt of the counter affidavit, ha? Yun sabi ko kanina, ha? 10 days after receipt of the counter affidavit. If the respondent fails to submit his or her counter affidavit during the initial hearing, an extension is granted on meritorious ground. The e-filing of same may be allowed provided that the same shall not exceed 10 days. Ibig sabihin, pwede siya makapag-file. Saan siya makapag-file? Online, through PDF copy. Yan po, e-filing po ang tawag dyan. Pag may meritorious ground, for example, health reason or probably other circumstances, so yun po. Next, the filing of counter affidavit in case an extension is allowed or when deemed necessary or of reply affidavit or rejoinder affidavit, dapat siya shall be made electronically via email. Dapat nakanotaryo pa yan before you email it. The PDF of the subscribed and sworn affidavit shall be transmitted through email to the official email address contained in the ordinance. Hoy, take note ha, PDF ang nakalagay dyan. PDF ang format, hindi Word, hindi PowerPoint. PDF ha, ang format. The PDF copy of the counter affidavit reply or joinder affidavit shall be separate from the PDF copies of each of the accompanying documents. The file name of each document shall pertain to the respective title or description. Ano ibig sabihin dyan? So, pag complaint affidavit, yun na nakalagay sa title ng file is complaint affidavit. Pag rejoinder affidavit, dapat rejoinder affidavit yung nakalagay sa file. O di ano pwedeng ano-ano lang inilagay. Baka rejoinder affidavit dyan, tapos inilagay mo dyan is personal message. Hindi pwede. All PDF copies of documents must be completely legible. Ibig sabihin, dapat klarong-klaro yan. Sunod, documents that are e-filed and e-served beyond the office hours are deemed filed and served on the same day. For example, ano ba yung office hours natin? 8 o'clock in the morning up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Pero nakapag-submit ka ngayon, 7 o'clock in the evening of today. So, ibig sabihin, pwede, acceptable pa din po yan kahit hindi po nakapag-file during office hours. Alright? Counted po siya na na-file ngayong araw po na ito kahit hindi lagpas po sa office hours po natin. The hard copy of the original affidavit and 2 duplicates shall be submitted to the prosecution office either personally or by an accredited courier on or before the schedule set in the order. Okay? So, dapat po ha, ang hard copy of the original affidavit at saka yung... Kaya nga, I had the opportunity to talk with the clerk of the court in Negros Oriental. Sabi po niya, it's very redundant. Sinabit mo na nga sa PDF copy, mag-submit ka pa ngayon ng hard copy. So, I don't know what's the reason behind. Pero, bottom line dito, mag-submit ka sa email, mag-submit ka din ng hard copy. O yun. So, ang advantage lang dito is you can have the video conferencing, which is not present during the regular preliminary investigation. Next, during the video conference hearing, the investigative prosecutor shall require the affiants to reaffirm their oath in their affidavits, to tell the truth, the whole truth, blah, blah, blah. All video conference hearings shall be recorded. Failure to timely file the affidavits via email and to submit the hard copies thereof with the required verified declaration shall be deemed a waiver of the party's right to do so. Note, electronic copies of affidavits or of any accompanying documents not in PDF or in PDF but not legible or are protected by password or other encryption or with embedded executable code or scripts or are otherwise corrupted shall not be considered as having been filed and therefore excluded from the records of the case. Klaro. Ibig sabihin, dapat ang isinabit mo na PDF copy, klaro. Dapat walang password kasi yung iba maglalagay ng password sa file kasi confidential. Hindi siya encrypted, hindi din po siya file that will execute another application pag na-open siya. So, pag yun ang mga type of files or forms of file na sinabit mo, it will not be accepted and shall be excluded from record. Okay? So, yun po mga kaditi ha, ang procedure po natin sa virtual preliminary investigation. Other side mga kadete, iba po ang procedures po natin sa preliminary investigation as compared to inquest proceedings. Kasi sa preliminary investigation, generally, ang respondent is not arrested. Dito sa inquest proceedings, arrested po yung respondent po natin under citizen's arrest or under the virtue of warrantless arrest. So pag warrantless arrest po yan, may 3 grounds po tayo, di ba? If you can still remember, may tinatawag tayong hot pursuit arrest, may tinatawag tayong in flagrante delicto arrest, at saka yung pang-3, warrantless arrest on an escaped prisoner. Pagpasok yan sa 3 grounds, automatic warrantless arrest. Hindi kailanganin ng warrant para ma-aresto yung isang tao. Now, pagpasok siya ngayon sa warrantless arrest, ang proceeding is not preliminary investigation but rather inquest. Okay? Ano ba ang inquest proceeding? ito po ay isang informal at saka summary po siya na investigation conducted po ng prosecution pillar. Sa anong kaso? Sa isang kaso ng isang tao that has been arrested without the virtue of the warrant. Now, ang inquest po, dalawa pong klase. Under the new guidelines, yung regular inquest proceedings, pangalawa yung or electronic inquest proceeding. Yung regular, ibig sabihin face-to-face, yung inquest, ibig sabihin gumamit tayo ng ICT, okay? Or yung sa internet. Now, ano ba ang procedure sa regular inquest proceeding? Tingnan na lang natin just imagine, police officer ka, nakita mo yung isang tao stabbing somebody to death. Tapos on patrol duty ka, you were there present at the crime scene. Anong gagawin ng isang police? Didakpin niya ngayon yung tao who committed it. Pagtapos na nadakip na po yung isang tao, saan niya ilagay yung tao? Doon sa lock-up jail, yung sa presohan. Pagdating doon sa lock-up jail, dapat nakapag-prepare ka ngayon ng tinatawag nating referral letter. Ang sa referral letter po, doon po nakalagay yung lahat ng required na ebidensya. Una, yung affidavit of arrest, andyan nakalagay sa referral letter. Pangalawa, investigation report, nakalagay sa referral letter. Yung complaint affidavit, nakalagay sa referral letter. At saka yung lahat-lahat na testimonies or affidavit of the witnesses doon, nakalagay sa referral letter. Anong tawag? Referral letter. Sino ba ang complainant ngayon dito? Hindi ikaw, police officer ka. Ikaw yung complainant. Sino ang gagawa? Sino ang mag-supply, mag-furnish ng affidavit of arrest? Ikaw. Investigation report? Ikaw. Complete affidavit? Ikaw. At saka yung mga affidavits kung ano-ano man dyang ebidensya na kailanganin mong isubmit doon sa prosecution. So, yung referral letter, original yan along with the not original, yung duplicate, dalawa po siya for official file. At saka pag may other respondents, ibig sabihin, dalawa yung respondents po natin, pwedeng dagdagan yung kopya. Okay? So, ikaw ang police, ikaw ang mag-submit doon sa prosecution office within the applicable period. Ano ba yung period po natin? 12, 18, and 36 reglementary period yan. We should not be liable for delay of delivery of persons to authorities, So, dito po, para hindi po tayo, para safe tayo, under the law, dapat we should act in accordance with the law. Pag 12 oras, dapat nakapag-file ka na ngayon. 12 oras, pag ang krimen niya is those crimes punishable by light penalties. Balik tayo. Ano ba yung light penalties? Ito yung punishable by arresto minor. Ano ba yung arresto minor? 1 day to 30 days. Pag 18 hours, ito yung mga krimen punishable by correctional penalties. Okay? For example, ano ba yung correctional penalties? Arresto mayor. Ano ba yung arresto mayor? That's 1 month and 1 day to 6 months. Sunod sa arresto mayor is prison correctional. That's 6 months and 1 day to 6 years. So yung dalawang yan, arresto mayor at saka yung prison correctional, na kalagayan sa correctional penalties. Yung after sa correctional penalties, itong tinatawag nating afflictive or grave penalties from prison mayor papuntang reclusion perpetua. Okay? Memorize nyo sa prison mayor, that's 6 years and 1 day to 12 years. Then reclusion temporal, that's 12 years and 1 day to 20 years. Then reclusion perpetua, 20 years and 1 day to 40 years. So, ang filing po ng referral letter natin, dapat po within this period 12, 18, and 36. Sunod, pag nakasubmit na po doon sa prosecution, ang docket section po ng prosecution, i-forward ngayon immediately yung referral doon sa head of the prosecution office. So yung referral letter mo, i-submit yan. Forward niya ngayon sa head of the prosecution office. Anong gagawin ng head of the prosecution office? Titingnan niya ngayon pag valid ba yung warrantless arrest mo. Kasi pag hindi yan naaayon sa in flagrante delicto arrest, hot pursuit arrest, at saka yung sa warrantless arrest on escape prisoner, patay ka ngayon. So dapat i-submit mo yan. By the way, sir, what if pag private citizen yung nag-conduct ng warrantless arrest, same process pa din po, ha? Same process pa din po. So, again, balik po tayo. Titingnan ngayon pag valid yan. Pag valid po, ito po ang mangyayari. I-evaluate, kasi valid yung warrantless arrest Tingnan ngayon, i-evaluate yung completeness of the required evidence that will establish po sa elements of the crime, availability of testimonial, real object, and documentary evidence. So meaning, ibig sabihin, titingnan niyo ngayon kung pang completeness sa required na evidence pag valid yung arrest. Okay? So, pag kompleto yung ebidensya, walang kailangang idagdag, ibig sabihin, ang kaso po will be docketed na. Okay? Docketed po siya. Tapos, i-assign niya ngayon sa tinatawag nating inquest prosecutor. Okay? So, docketed na ha, pero pag hindi kompleto, bibigyan ngayon ang police officer or NBI man o sino nag-aresto dyan or private citizen, bibigyan siya ngayon ng oras para magdagdag ng ebidensya para maging kompleto. Pag kompleto na po, i-docket na po siya para i-assign po yung docketed na kaso doon po sa inquest prosecutor. Okay? Now, if failed to submit the required evidence, the arrested person shall be ordered release and the records returned doon sa law enforcement agency or sa isang private citizen na nag-conduct ng warrantless arrest. Tapos, pagbalik doon, bibigyan sila ng pagkakataon para sa pag-refiling of the complaint. Nakuha niyo po? So, balik tayo ha. Pag valid po, tingnan kung kumpleto ba yung ebidensya. Pag kumpleto, i-docket po yung kaso, i-assign doon sa inquest prosecutor. Tapos, pag hindi naman kumpleto, ibalik siya. Or, pangalawa, bigyan siya ng pagkataon para maging kumpleto, dagdagan yung ebidensya. Okay? Tapos, i-docket na ngayon. Now, pag hindi po nakapag-submit, kasi hindi kumpleto, ay ibalik yung record doon sa law enforcement agency or doon sa private person na gumagawa ng warrantless arrest. Tapos, again, bigyan sila ng pagkakataon to refile the complaint. Okay? Now, sir, ano naman ang mangyayari pag yung warrantless arrest hindi valid? For example, yung principle of immediacy under hot pursuit. Nangyayari yung krimen Sunday morning, 7 o'clock. Tapos, nagkandak ka ng warrantless arrest after 1 month. Ay, nako, hindi na po valid yan. Kasi within 24 hours lang po yung hot pursuit arrest po natin. Within the day po yan So, automatic, invalid. Or for example, hindi ka present sa crime scene. You were not there when the crime was committed. Talagang wala ka doon. May nagbulong lang sa'yo na ito ang taong nagnakaw, tapos pumunta ka sa lugar, dinakip mo agad, wala kang personal knowledge because you were not there physically present during the crime was committed. Patay ka, walang validity. Okay? Alright? Next. Pagkatapos nito, during the inquest proceeding, pag na-assign na siya sa inquest prosecutor, during the inquest proceeding, the prosecutor shall ensure that the respondent is represented by a counsel and that the said counsel has received the referral and its attachment. So, dapat may lawyer po ang respondent. Okay? Dapat may lawyer at saka yung lawyer dapat naka-receive siya sa kopya ng referral at saka yung sa attachment. Next! If the respondent opts for the conduct of preliminary investigation, ito, pambawi ito, panglaban sa 1218 at saka 36 reglementary period, itong tinatawag nating waiver. Pag they will opt or gusto nila, preliminary investigation na lang, ayaw ko ng inquest proceeding, gusto ko PI, pwede, pero mag-sign sila ng waiver under Article 125 of the RPC. Notwithstanding the said waiver, the respondent may apply for bail and investigation will be terminated within 15 days from its inception. Ibig sabihin ng inception, nung pagsimula. The moment it starts, dapat 15 days, automatic terminate na po siya. Next, the inquest prosecutor shall immediately resolve the case discussing the following matters. 1. Provisional determination regarding the crime. Number 2, the existence of a prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction. So, same lang din po sa PI. So, just like PI po, ang goal din po ng inquest proceeding is basically on the determination of a prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction. Again, mga kaditi, pag maging police officer kayo, take note yung reglementary period natin, 12-18-36. We should not be liable, Baka maging liable tayo ng delay in the delivery of detained persons to proper judicial authorities. Patay tayo dyan pag hindi tayo nakapag-deliver. Okay? So, yun po regular inquest proceedings po yung tinutukoy natin dito. Next, yung another type of inquest, itong inquest, yung electronic. So again, dito po sa e-inquest, pwede din po ang prosecutor, pwede din po ang LEA or Law Enforcement Agency or concerned private person na nag-conduct ng warrantless arrest, pwede sila, they will opt to have the electronic inquest. So long as may access po sa internet, sa ICT. Next, the referring law enforcement agency or the arresting private citizen and the counsel of the respondent shall be provided with the details of the video conferencing, daytime, blah, blah, blah. And then, they ensure the attendance of the parties and verify their identities, record all relevant events and narrations in the minutes, administer the oath or affirmation, clarify factual issues if there is any. On the other hand, if respondent avails of his or her right to a preliminary investigation, the inquest prosecutor shall direct the referring LEA, the arresting private citizen, or the counsel for the respondent to facilitate the execution again of the waiver. Same lang pag gusto nila ng preliminary investigation, o di mag-waiver sila. Sunod, the hard copy of the original and 2 duplicate copies of the referral letter and all the required documents and such number of copies as there are respondents, as well as the original of the waiver, if applicable, shall be submitted to the prosecution office. So again, pareho lang din po sa e-preliminary investigation. Nga tawag, electronic, pero you still have to submit the hard copy. I don't understand the relevance thereof. To be honest with you. Bakit ka pa mag-submit? Nakapag-submit ka na sa email. Pero, ay magawa. So, talagang isubmit email at the same time, hard copies. Next. Ito resolution versus information. Kanina po, I already mentioned about this. So, resolution, ibig sabihin yan po ang ruling ng prosecutor. Ruling ng prosecutor or ruling ng inquest prosecutor, ruling ng investigating prosecutor. Kung ang isang kaso ba, i-dismiss ba yan or i-file. Okay, resolution, ruling or recommendation niya. To make it more very basic and very easy to understand. It's just a recommendation. Pero pag information, talagang written accusation na yan. So pag ang resolution ng isang prosecutor, dismissal, maggagawa ka pa ba ng information? Hindi na. Hindi ka nagagawa kasi nga, ang information is a written accusation. Bakit ka pa kagawa ng information kung wala ka namang written accusation? Diba? So, hindi ka na magawa ng information. Pero pag may ground, may prima facie evidence, automatic. Mag-file ka ngayon ng information, isubmit mo yan doon sa korte. Okay? Next, dispositions and recommendations. So, balik po tayo. If no prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty that the respondent will be convicted once tried in court, ano ang gagawin? Dismiss the complaint. Ang dismissal sa complaint shall be done by the approval of the head of the prosecution office. Okay? Now, pag ang investigating prosecutor nag-recommend siya ng dismissal, pero, pagdating doon sa head of the prosecution, sabi ng head ng prosecution, dismissal. Pero based on my scrutiny, talagang may ground. So, ibig sabihin, binaliktad ngayon yung recommendation ng investigating prosecutor. Hindi nag-sign yung Sabi ng investigating prosecutor, walang ground, dismiss the case. Pero sabi ng head, hindi ka mag-dismiss kasi may ground. So, baliktad. So, sino ba ang Sino ba ang dapat bigyan natin ng authority to rule over the case? So dapat ang bigyan natin ng pansin is yung head of the prosecution. Sino ang masusunod dito? Ang masusunod is yung head of the prosecution office. So, ibig sabihin, mag-file ngayon ng information ang prosecution without the conduct of another preliminary investigation. Okay? Without the conduct. On the other hand, if there is a prima facie evidence, with reasonable certainty, the prosecutor shall issue a resolution recommending the filing of the information in court. He or she shall henceforth prepare an information. So, pag may ground may prima facie evidence, mag-recommend siya ngayon ng mag-submit siya ngayon ng resolution recommending for the filing of the information. So, pag na-approve yan sa head of the prosecution office, automatic, gagawa ngayon ng information. Pero pag baliktarin naman yan, sa'yo, ikaw investigating officer, sabihin mo ngayon, my ground, file tayo ng information. Pero sabi ng head of the prosecution office, dismiss mo yan. O sinong masusunod? Hindi yung na-superior. Yung superior ang masusunod. Okay? Without conducting any preliminary investigation. In the same manner, pag ang sabi ng investigating prosecutor, wala, dismiss to. Pagdating doon sa head of office, yung resolution niya, disapprove. Sabi ng head of the prosecution office, no, mayroon tayong ground. Sino ang masusunod? Yung nasa taas, yung superior. Tapos, hindi na mag-conduct ng preliminary investigation. Automatic, sabit na ng information. Okay? I hope naintindihan po natin. Period to resolve cases. All preliminary investigation complaints shall be resolved within a period of 60 days. Klaro po yan. 60 calendar days from the date of assignment with a maximum of 30-day extension in the following cases. Maging 90 days siya pag ganito ang mga kaso, following of capital offenses, ito po yung mga offenses punishable by death. Complex issues, yung mga komplikado na mga kaso with counter charges, consolidation of related complaints, and reassignment. Consolidated complaints, may iba-iba yung nag-submit ng complaints. Reassignment po, din po, from one prosecutor to the other prosecutor. So, pwedeng maging 90 days. But in general sense, 60 days lang po ang PI natin. The recommendatory resolution and information shall be transmitted to the head of office for approval within 5 calendar days from the date of the resolution. The recommendatory resolution and information shall be acted upon by the Prosecutor General, city or provincial prosecutor, or his or her duly authorized deputies within 10 calendar days from the receipt of the resolution and information. The resolution shall be promulgated within 5 days from its approval. For inquest referral naman, iba po. It's very different from PI. Kasi sa inquest referral, it has to be resolved within the day. Yan po ang sabi, within the day. Tapos, it has to be transmitted to the head of office for approval on the next working day. Yun po ang pagkakaiba in terms of reglementary period for resolving the case. Okay? Now, mga kadets, tapos na po tayo sa prosecution. I hope I was able to give you the necessary tools para po sa preparation nyo sa board examination. Sa lahat po ng estudyante ngayon, I hope you really understand yung bagong procedure po natin ng PI under the new guidelines. Now, last po, punta tayo sa court. By the way court lang tayo, then yung next episode will center on correction and community pillar. Sa court naman, ito yung pangtatlo na pillar of the criminal justice system. Dito po, ina-administer yung tinatawag nating justice. Okay? Yung hustisya. Ang korte, tinatawag siyang judicial tribunals, officially assembled under authority of law at the appropriate time and place for the administration of justice through which the government enforces its sovereign rights and powers. Basically, ang korte po, doon po inilagay yung pag-administer ng hustisya, administration of justice. Pangalawa, ang korte po, siya po ang body or ang entity na mag-determine po kung ang accused is guilty or innocent of the offense charged against him. Hindi ang prosecution. Ang prosecution will just be on the determination of a prima facie evidence. But ang pagdetermine kung inosente ba siya or hindi, nakasalalay po yan sa authority ng korte. Okay? Now, tatlong terms. Una, judge. Ang judge siya yung public officer ng korte. Okay? Siya yung public officer ng korte. Pangalawa, judicial independence. From the word independence, ibig sabihin autonomy. Ano ibig sabihin ng autonomy or independence? Freedom. Freedom. Anong freedom? Freedom or kalayaan ng korte to settle legal controversies or disputes with an impartial eye. Ano ibig sabihin ng impartial eye? Ibig sabihin, kaya blindfolded yan eh. Yung woman, yung lady justice, blindfolded yan eh. Kasi you do not look from one side to the other. You do not play favoritism in the court. Disputes with an impartial eye and an even hand and bowing to no one except the law. It is the freedom of the judges to perform their functions without interferences from the executive or legislative body of the government. May tatlong independent branches of the government po tayo. Executive, which refers to the president. Legislative, which refers to the Senate and the Congress. And the judicial, which refers to the courts. Independente po silang tatlo. Ibig sabihin, if I am a legislative, I am not allowed to encroach on the authorities of the judicial body. If I am an executive, I am not allowed to intervene or mediate on the affairs of the judicial. Kasi nga po, may independence po yan eh, bawat isa. So sa judicial independence, may freedom ang korte para po kilitisin po kung ang isang tao inosente ba or guilty siya para po ma-determine kung ang isang dispute, ang isang legal controversies po is something that violates the penal code of the Philippines or any pertinent laws. At the same time, yung pag-exercise, pag-administer ng justice should be done without any favoritism. It should be without bias or without prejudice. Yun po ang judicial independence. For short, independente, autonomia on the part of the court to apply the laws into contest. Okay? Sunod, judicial review. Power of the courts, ultimately the Supreme Court, to interpret the Constitution and to declare any legislative or executive act invalid because it is in conflict with the fundamental law. Una, ano ba ang fundamental law of the land? Ang fundamental law of the land, ito po yung Constitution. Bakit tinatawag siyang fundamental law of the land? Kasi lahat ng Republic Acts, lahat ng presidential decrees that are enacted by the Senate and the Congress should be in congruence with the fundamental law of the land, with the Constitution. Ibig sabihin, pag nag-enact ka ngayon ng isang batas, kasi congressman ka, tapos sabi ng Supreme Court, hoy, Tarpulano, Mr. Congressman, yung ginawa mong batas, hindi yan naaayon sa Constitution. Unconstitutional yan. So, bawal yan. Invalid yan. Dapat it should not be considered as a law. It should be obsolete. Sino ang magsasabi? Di yung korte. Ang pagsabi sa whether a certain law is constitutional or unconstitutional is within the authority of the Supreme Court. This authority is known as judicial review. Bakit review? Kasi i-review nila. For example, balik tayo para talaga maintindihan. Good conduct time allowance. And Department of Justice, sabi nila nung una, Department of Justice in the revised manual on GCT, sabi nila, pag ang isang tao recidivist o nakapag-commit ng heinous crime, bawal siyang magbigyan ng good conduct time allowance. Ibig sabihin, kahit good behavior ka pa yan dyan, kahit 20 years ka ng good behavior or good standing, sa prison, automatic, hindi ka bibigyan ng deduction. Yon ang sa guidelines. Pero ang sabi ng korte, bawal yan. Kasi ang nakalagay doon sa batas na ini-issue nyo, talagang walang disqualification. Walang disqualification yan eh. So, dapat yung guidelines na yan should be considered as obsolete. I-take down yan. So, ano nangyari? I did not take down. So, ngayon, ang good conduct time allowance, anybody, kahit serial killer ka pa, so long as nandun ka sa jail or prison, tapos you portray good behavior, automatic deducted ka. Okay? Anti-terrorism law, di ba? May mga 2 areas dyan considered to be unconstitutional. So, ano nangyari? It was take down. Yung areas. Kuha po? So, tawag dyan, ang kapangyarihan ng korte to review. kung ang ginawa ng Senado at saka yung Kongreso na batas ay naaayon sa Constitution. Okay? Sunod. Dito tayo sa Batas Pambansa bilang 129 as amended by Republic Act 11576. Tingnan natin ang jurisdiction ha. Before ang isang korte makapag-settle ng isang legal controversies, para makapag-trial sila, titingnan nila muna ngayon ang tatlong requisites. Una, jurisdiction over the crime that was committed. May jurisdiction ka ba sa krimen? Pangalawa, jurisdiction over the person who committed the offense or the person who committed the crime. And number 3, jurisdiction over the place where the crime was committed. Pagpasok sila sa tatlong jurisdiction na yan, nakuha ang tatlong requisites na yan, pwede kang makapag-trial, makapag-hear ng case. Pero pag wala kang jurisdiction over the crime that was committed, hindi para sa'yo yan. For example, ano ba ang jurisdiction ng Municipal Trial Court? Di ba itong mga krimen, offenses, punishable with imprisonment of not exceeding 6 years? Lahat ng krimen not exceeding 6 years, o di sa'yo yan. Pero pag more than 6 years, for example, rape, may jurisdiction ka ba over the crime that was committed? Wala. So, dapat hindi sa'yo yan. Ilagay yan doon sa Regional Trial Court. Okay? Jurisdiction over the crime that was committed, jurisdiction over the person who committed the crime, or number 3, jurisdiction over the place where the crime was committed. Pag ang krimen nakimit dito sa Negros Oriental, saan ba ang kaso? Doon ba sa Cebu? Hindi. Kasi dito yan eh. Unless there is a mandate coming from the Supreme Court na pwede kang doon. Right? So, there are also certain cases na pwede. For example, doon ang complainant in Cebu, pwede din po yan. Pero generally, pag nangyari doon sa Negros, nangyari sa Negros Oriental, complainant taga Negros, ang respondent taga Negros also, generally dapat sa Negros Oriental. For example, may mga kaso nga po, exceptions na pwede siyang in another place. Ang sabi ko dito mga kredite, I would like to clarify, in general, sit up, pag nangyari sa isang lugar, ang korte sa lugar na yan ang may jurisdiction. Okay? Now, sa Batas Pambansa bilang 129 na amended by Republic Act 11576, ang korte po natin na-arrange into 3 major categories. Una, regular courts. Pangalawa, special courts. Pangatlo, quasi-judicial agencies. Isa-isahin po natin Sa regular courts, dito tayo sa pinakamababa una. Okay? Nandito yung tatlo, Metropolitan Trial Court, Municipal Trial Court, Municipal Circuit Trial Court. Tatlo yan. Sir, question, ano bang Metropolitan Trial Court? Ito po yung korte in big cities like Cebu, Manila. Okay. Sa syudad, malalaking syudad yan. Municipal Trial Court at Municipal Circuit Trial Court, pare-pareho lang yan. Ang difference is very simple. Sa Municipal Trial Court, isang munisipyo, isang korte. Pero sa Municipal Trial Court, isang korte, maraming clusters of municipalities ang sakop niya. For example, pag Municipality of Shaton yan, isang korte, o di Municipal Trial Court, jurisdiction niya, Municipality of Shaton. Pero pag Municipal Circuit Trial Court yan, ibig sabihin, you can have Municipality of Shaton, Municipality of Bacong, Municipality of Dawin. Sakop mo yan as a Circuit Trial Court. Kuha po ba? Pero, as to the offense, ito pareho lang yan. Lahat ng offenses punishable by not more than 6 years, pwedeng sa Municipal Circuit Trial Court, blah, 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 blah. Tsaka yung all violations of city or municipal ordinance. Pasok yan sa tatlo. Okay? I hope nakuha. Sunod, pag exceeding naman, exceeding 6 years po. Ibig sabihin, 6 years and 1 day and above. Saan mo ilagay? Ay, doon na yan. Ang jurisdiction dyan is Regional Trial Court or RTC. Mas mataas po, compared sa tatlo. Then, aside from that, appellate jurisdiction over all cases decided by the lower courts. Ibig sabihin, ng appellate, yung appeal. For example, guilty siya ngayon sa Municipal Trial Court. Pwede niyang i-appeal ang kaso niya doon sa Regional Trial Court. Yun po Okay, next. ang higher sa RTC is itong tinatawag nating Court of Appeals. Okay? Ang Court of Appeals, ang jurisdiction niya is on appellate jurisdiction over all final judgment, resolutions, order awards of the regional trial courts and quasi-judicial agencies, instrumentalities, boards, or commission. For example, COMELEC, decision ng COMELEC, na-appeal. Pag-appeal yan doon sa Court of Appeals. Alright? Decision ng regional trial court, in-appeal ngayon. Saan i-appeal? Doon sa Court of Appeals. Okay? So, pag guilty ngayon, ang respondent sa Metropolitan Trial Court, mag-appeal siya ngayon sa RTC. Pagdating sa RTC, guilty pa din siya, pwede siyang mag-appeal doon sa Court of Appeals. Pag guilty pa din siya sa Court of Appeals, pwede siya mag-appeal sa pinaka-last Supreme Court. Okay? Yun na ang last. Pag guilty siya sa Supreme Court, ano mangyari? O di, patay ka ngayon. Puta ka ngayon sa prisuan. Wala ka ng choice. Last na yan eh. Okay? Other jurisdiction of the Court of Appeals are the following: issuance of the writ of mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, habeas corpus, quo warranto, and auxiliary writs or processes. Next, ang pinakamataas natin na korte is itong Supreme Court. Ang pinakamataas. Jurisdiction niya over cases affecting ambassadors and other public ministers, consuls, and blah, blah, blah. Petitions for the issuance of writs of certiorari, prohibitions and mandamus against the Court of Appeals, then jurisdiction to review, revise, reverse, modify, or affirm on appeal as the law or rules of court may provide final judgment and decrees of inferior courts as herein provided. So lahat ng mga decisions sa lower court, pinakamataas dyan is Supreme Court ang mag-decide. Alright? Sunod na category is itong special courts. Yung una, regular courts ha. Ito, special, tatlo ang nakalagay dito. Court of Tax Appeals, lahat ng kaso on taxes. Court of Tax Appeals ang may jurisdiction dyan. Lahat ng corruption involving government officials, dito po, ikaso or i-trial sa Sandigan Bayan. Okay? So, ang Sandigan Bayan po, ang mag-file dyan ng kaso para sa trial is yung tinatawag nating ombudsman. Yung ombudsman, comparable siya sa prosecution. Okay? So, saan magpa-file yung ombudsman? Doon sa Sandigan Bayan. Doon po mag-trial sa Sandigan Bayan. Sharia court naman, ito yung mga kaso related to violations of the Sharia law. Yung traditions, yung batas ng mga Muslim. Okay? Sunod. Yung third category, itong quasi-judicial agencies. Bakit quasi? Kasi same yan eh. Unlike regular and special courts, quasi-judicial bodies do not possess judicial power. Instead, they possess and in fact exercise what are termed as quasi-judicial powers. Even though they are not court of justice, either the Constitution or the special statutes empower these agencies to execute such quasi-judicial power solely in aid of the administrative powers that their administrative agency is allowed only for the empowered to exercise. For example, National Labor Relations Commission. Ibig sabihin, may violation sa Labor Code of the Philippines. O dito, ngayon magsisitol. Civil Service Commission, titingnan kung isang government employee qualified ba or disqualified to hold office. Commission on Election, Commission on Audit, so on and so forth, mga quasi-judicial agencies po ito. Okay? So, yun po ang organization of courts po natin. Now, lastly, under po sa batas po natin, ang mga korte po natin is mandated to solve cases based on reglementary periods required by the law. For the Supreme Court, binigyan po siya ng 24 na buwan. For Court of Appeals and other collegiate appellate courts, 12 months unless reduced by the Supreme Court. For the lower courts naman, 3 months. Ibig sabihin, ito yung mga reglementary period, paki-memorize na lang ha. Maximum period in the rendering of decision. Pero again, baka tanungin nyo, Sir, bakit aabot ng so many years? Kasi nga po, number 1, overwhelming of docketed cases. Number 2, yung trabaho po natin, yung manpower sa korte, ako konti lang. Isang judge, ang daming kasong hinahandle. So, madidelay yung pag-deliver ng decision. Pangatlo, yung ebidensya kulang. Kaya nga, nag-issue ngayon ng new guidelines ang DOJ para yung ebidensya na nakukuha talagang inchakto yan. Tsaktong-tsakto para makapag-convict sa respondent. Alright? Maraming salamat mga kadete, mga reviewees, mga sirs, mga ma'ams, si The Academy for patronizing the Bitcoin. Maraming salamat po for joining me in the second episode. Hintay po tayo sa third episode para po at least makomplete po natin ang discussion sa criminal justice system. Sa lahat po ng avid fan ng Bitcoin, maraming salamat po. Libre po lahat ito, walang bayad po ang lahat ng videos natin. God bless everyone and stay safe. Ingat po and good luck and God bless po sa lahat ng takers ng upcoming criminologist licensure examination under the new table of specification. Maraming salamat.